Good Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversation Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. We have the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you've been part of my conversation with author Clark Huff, discussing his new book, Stupidity in Action, Lessons Learned in Leadership the Hard Way. Enjoy today's program. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Wednesday headlines. In national news, fighting gas prices, U.S. to release 50 million barrels of oil. President Joe Biden on Tuesday ordered 50 million barrels of oil released from America's strategic reserve to help bring down energy costs in coordination with other major energy-consuming nations, including India, the United Kingdom, and China. The U.S. action is aimed at global energy markets, but also at helping Americans coping with higher inflation and rising prices ahead of Thanksgiving and winter holiday travel. Gasoline prices are at about $3.40 a gallon, more than 50% higher than a year ago, according to the American Automotive Association. The government will begin to move barrels into the market in mid to late December, but the action is unlikely to immediately bring down gas prices significantly as families begin traveling for the holidays. Gasoline usually responds at a lag to change in oil prices, and administration officials suggest that this is one of several steps toward ultimately bringing down costs. Oil prices had dropped in the days ahead of the announced withdrawals, a sign that investors were anticipating the moves that could bring a combined 70 million to 80 million barrels of oil onto global markets. But in Tuesday trading, prices shot up nearly 2% instead of falling. The market was expecting the news, and traders may have been underwhelmed when they saw the details. Shortly after the U.S. announcement, India said it would release 5 million barrels from its strategic reserves. The British government confirmed it will release up to 1.5 million barrels from its stockpile. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's spokesman said it was a sensible and measured step to support global markets during the pandemic recovery. The actions by the U.S. and others also risk counter moves by Gulf nations, especially Saudi Arabia, and by Russia. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries have made clear they intend to control supply to keep prices high for the time being. In more national news, jury gets case of men charged in Ahmaud Arbery's death. The case of 3 men charged with murder in the killing of Ahmaud Arbery went to the jury Tuesday after a nearly 2-week trial in which prosecutors argued that the defendants provoked the fatal confrontation and defense attorneys insisted their clients acted in self-defense. You can't claim self-defense if you are the unjustified aggressor, the prosecutor told jurors in her closing arguments. Who started this? It wasn't Ahmaud Arbery. The prosecution got the final word because it carries the burden of proving its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Prosecutors and defense attorneys spent hours on Monday delivering closing arguments that spilled into a second day. After the prosecution wrapped up, the Superior Court judge gave instructions to the jury on how to apply the law before the panel started deliberations at the Glenn County Courthouse in the port city of Brunswick. Arbery's killing became part of a larger national reckoning on racial injustice after a graphic video of his death leaked online 2 months later. In more national news, vaccines making Thanksgiving easier, but hotspots remain. The U.S. is facing its second Thanksgiving of the pandemic in better shape than the first time around, thanks to the vaccine, though some regions are seeing surges of COVID-19 cases that could get worse as families travel the country for gatherings that were impossible a year ago. Nearly 200 million Americans are fully vaccinated. That leaves tens of millions who have yet to get a shot in the arm, some of them out of defiance. Hospitals in the cold upper Midwest, especially Michigan and Minnesota, are filled with COVID-19 patients who are mostly unvaccinated. Michigan hospitals reported about 3,800 coronavirus patients at the start of the week, with 20% in intensive care units, numbers that approach the bleakest days of the pandemic's 2020 start. In business news, stocks edge lower, oil prices rise despite release of crude. Stocks edged lower in choppy trading on Wall Street Tuesday as gains from banks and energy companies tempered losses from communications and technology companies. The S&P 500 fell 0.4%, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 9 points, or less than 0.1%, to 35,628, and the Nasdaq fell 1.3%. And finally, in entertainment news, musician Jon Batiste leads Grammy Award nominations with 11. Jon Batiste might be the Grammys' biggest surprise, The multi-genre performer and recent Oscar winner made such an impression on voters that he scored the most nominations with 11 on Tuesday. Batiste earned an Album of the Year nod for We Are, along with Record of the Year with Freedom, a feel-good ode to the city of New Orleans. His nominations span several genres, including R&B, jazz, American roots, classical, and music video. Justin Bieber, Doja Cat, and Her each came away with the second most nominations, with 8 by the time the Recording Academy was done announcing its nominees for its January 31st show. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Mary Ellen, it's all yours.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. Learn to appreciate the flow of giving. The act of giving and receiving are intimately intertwined. Yet you cannot attract abundance by simply giving gifts to all you meet. You will find yourself wallowing in disappointment when you do not receive the expected result. An error in judgment occurs when you think the only way you deserve a gift is to give one first. When you laden your gifts with expectations or motives, it ceases to become a gift. An expectation might be as simple as a thank you note or, well, I gave you a gift on your birthday, where's mine? Both of the above statements are societal teachings gone wrong. Give to someone because it comes from your heart, because you want to, or because it is what God asks of you in this moment. Today, appreciate the flow of reciprocal abundance as a gift in itself, and enjoy your day.
Author Clark Huff is featured in today's Entertainment Spotlight, right here on Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Entertainment Spotlight. Author Clark Huff joined me recently on Conversations Live's radio show to discuss his new book, Stupidity in Action, Lessons Learned in Leadership the Hard Way. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Well, Clark, a few things about this book. I went into it not really knowing what to expect. Of course, I think the title itself will draw some people in. But I love the fact that you're able to not only to laugh at yourself and some of your experiences, but also how it kind of reminds us all about when it comes to our path to success or whatever we want, not always being as straightforward as some people might think. What has it been like for you, the first Clark, to reflect on your life and now to share those experiences with us?
Well, it's been really interesting in a way because, as you go along, sometimes you don't really pay attention to the lessons that you're learning. But as I went along, particularly later in my life, when I would get talking to my coworkers and telling them the stories, they would really enjoy the stories, and they also found them very educational and helped me to appreciate the lessons that I'd learned.
Talk to us about that, the idea that we can learn from our failures. How has that benefited you?
Well, it started out early, and certainly in 17 when I'm trying to figure out how to solution mine potash and I keep having failures and I am kind of stymied, then it was interesting. I looked back on things and I thought, maybe I just need to look at this a different way. And eventually I came up with a solution to the real problem, which was making the facility stay economic. But the lessons, as they came along, a lot of times, of course, they were unexpected. They were unexpected disasters, but I did, eventually learn from them.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll have you guys on tomorrow with more news, Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make it a great one.